I look forward to making this video for so long, but I've waited until now to release it because this weekend, International Rugby League is back on the menu, boys. This week brings us one of my favourite times on the Rugby League calendar. It's international season, and as was the case last year, it is time for the Pacific Championships. The more international fixtures we play, the further forward our sport is carried. The more people see the passion the players play with, and they realise just how valuable an asset it is to our sport. And as someone who's going to be live streaming watch-alongs for every one of the Pacific Championship games, I can't wait to watch it all unfold along with you guys. But as good as people like me will tell you the international game is, it could be better. Every single time we get to this end of the season, we do see players choosing not to play for their heritage nations for one reason or another. Some withdraw because of niggling injuries they've sustained throughout the club season. Others withdraw because they'd rather play for Australia or New Zealand. Then you've got some whose clubs pressure them into withdrawing because clubs only care about their own interests and not the wider interests of the international game. Anyway, point is that as strong as these international sides are, they could be a lot stronger. And today I'm going to go through each of these 5 countries and show you just how strong they could be. And one of them in particular is way stronger than you would think. Let's get straight into it. I'm going to start with the Tongan boys because to me they are truly the ones who kickstarted this International Rugby League revolution way back in the 2017 World Cup. This is a side I've put together for them, and just glancing through it to start with, it is absolutely unreal. Have a look at that bench and tell me that it's not state of origin standard. At fullback we've got Sea Eagles speedster Tolu Kola, who at his best is one of the most damaging ball runners in the game. Then you've got elite quality on the wings in the form of Warriors cult hero Dallin Watene-Zelezniak and the ever-reliable Sione Katoa from the Sharks. Then in the centres that have one of the best and youngest pairings in the international game. Moses Suli from the Dragons has grown into one of the most consistent centres in the NRL and produces a very high quality level of output. While 22-year-old Will Pensini already has 80 NRL games to his name and has proven to be Parramatta's best outside back ever since coming into first grade. The spine is always where these Pacific nations have struggled, but in fairness, a 21-year-old Kotoni Staggs was actually halfback for Tonga when they beat Australia back in 2019. He'd only have to play as a running 5'8" though as a result of the emergence of Isaiah Katoa. The Dolphin is probably the best young halfback in the league and had his best season yet in 2024. Then you've got the forwards, where the real party gets started. Adam Fanua-Blake is a top 3 front rower in the game, and he'd be in a front row rotation with Manly's Man Mountain Taniela Paseka, Cowboys legend Jason Taumalolo, South's new star middle Keon Koloamatangi, and the Titans Queensland origin front rower Mo Fotuaika. That's a combination of middle forwards that could go with absolutely anyone. And it only gets better in the back row too. Elias Akatoa was probably the best second rower in the competition this season, and Hamole Olakawatu has now grown into an origin caliber forward who's one of the most physically intimidating players in the NRL. And while those two are getting a spell on the bench, you'd have a rampaging Siosifa Talakai to contend with, along with the ever-dominant superstar that is David Fifita. Holding it all together at hooker would be Siliva Havili. Now, he's not a superstar hooker, but he's a guy with reliable service from dummy half and high-quality defense. And believe me, the quality that I've left out of this side is immense too. Daniel Tupou, Tyson Frizzell, Scott Sorensen, Lehigh Hopewati, Felice Kaufusi. It goes on, and I just couldn't find a spot for all of them. All in all, Tonga at their very best would be an absolute joy to watch, and there'd be a team who can easily compete with the likes of New Zealand and Australia. The other side who absolutely have the quality to compete with those two countries is Samoa. They're a side who genuinely have quality 1 through 17. At fullback is the Hammer, who'd be one of the fastest and most damaging fullbacks in the entire game. The best winger in rugby league, Brian To'o, would line up on one wing, with Queensland and former Australia representative Murray Taulagi on the other. Inside them, you'd have Bulldogs captain and New South Wales incumbent Stephen Crichton, with Panthers multi-premiership winner Isaac Tongo on the other side. The halves are equally exciting though. Dylan Brown is still only 24 years of age but already has an NRL Grand Final to his name and 8 caps for New Zealand. And to be able to pair him with a man who proved this season just how good a halfback he can be in Jerome Luai. And particularly with his impending move to the Tigers, I really see him growing into that role. 4 premierships, 10 origin caps, and 2 series wins. What more could you ask for from your halfback? Then you've got the forwards, and I just want to say the forwards of this side are so good that I couldn't even find a spot for the likes of Junior Paulo, Stefano Utaekamanu, and Nelson Asava Solomona. Payne Haas, the man who I think is the best forward in rugby league, lines up in the front row alongside Moses Leota, who has won the last 4 premierships at the Panthers and who is now the leader of their forward pack with James Fisher-Harris departing. Helping them through the middle is Titans captain and Origin star Tino Fa'asuamaleaui, with the irresistible impact of Roosters duo Spencer Leniu and Terrell May coming off the bench, plus the utility value of new Warriors signing Aaron Clark. The back row rotation is packed with origin quality too, with Queensland representatives Jeremiah Nene and Jaden Sewer there, as well as a Panthers-bound Isaiah Papali'i. Then lastly at hooker, Danny Levi. Similarly to Havili, he's not a superstar, but is a very serviceable player whose only task would need to be to get the ball to the quality around him. Just like Tonga, this side also couldn't fit some serious superstar talent. As well as the front row as I mentioned earlier, I couldn't find a spot for the likes of Ronaldo Mulatalo, Jermaine Isako, Josh Papali'i, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Suafa'a Longo, Sean Bloor, etc. I said I backed Tonga to be able to compete with the likes of New Zealand and Australia, but with this talent wearing blue instead of black and white or green and gold, I think I'd almost expect this Samoa side to beat those two countries. And if you'd said that 5 years ago, you would have been called insane. Next up is Fiji, and while this side is a step down in quality from the previous two, it is still a very good team that is packed quite consistently with high quality NRL talent. Dream Buller had another solid year of first grade and has absolutely nailed down that fullback spot moving into this next generation at the Tigers. Mike Acevo is an experienced winger who at his best is one of the most potent in the competition, and Fiji could put the consistent Marcelo Montoya on the other side of the field. The two centres are both very potent attacking weapons too, coming in the form of multi-premiership winner Sunia Taruva and cowboy Semi Valame, who has shown at various points through his NRL career that he's capable of being a super damaging outside back. The halves are a weakness for this side, but Dolphin Kurt Donahue is a half and can slot into halfback quite easily, while the veteran Kevin Nangama has come to the aid of Fiji in the halves before and would line up at 5/8. The forwards though are where we'd see some serious damage being caused. Tui Kamikamitha would pair up with Regan Campbell-Gillard in a super damaging front row pairing, with young Rooster Siwa Wong at lock and the Saifiti twins coming off the bench. The back row of Viliami Kikau and Tarek Sims is also very strong, with young Bulldogs talent Kitioni Katonga able to supplement those two throughout the game. Tane Milne would provide versatility for both the forwards and backs off the bench, and Tigers captain Api Coruscant would be able to lead the team from hooker. Again, this would be another side well worth sitting down and watching, and if we're talking about growing the international game, eyes on screens is the most crucial thing. Papua New Guinea would have a fair amount of NRL talent too, supplemented by a number of high quality players from the Super League. Alex Johnston is a very capable fullback at international level, so would slot straight into that position. Xavier Coates has chosen to represent Australia for these Pacific Championships, but it would be absolutely elite to see him line up for the Kumuls instead. Nene McDonald on the other wing is a former NRL player who was named in the Super League Dream Team this year, so would be a high quality addition to this side in itself. Justin Olam is an absolute national hero, so his position goes without saying, and Cowboys rookie Zach Labour lit up the NRL until his season-ending injury earlier this year. His brother Kyle is a stalwart at 5/8 for this PNG side, and halfback Lachlan Lamb is one of the best players the Super League has to offer. Jack de Belin speaks for himself in terms of his quality as a front rower, along with other NRL talent such as Jacob Arlick from the Titans and Dan Russell from the Dragons. Super League talent in this forward pack includes Sylvester Namo, Liam Horn and Nixon Putt, all from the Castleford Tigers, as well as 2021 World Cup hero Edwin Ipape from the Leopards and Reece Martin from Hull KR. These PNG sides always outperform their quality on paper, so I really think they'd go well against a side like Fiji. And for the most rugby league mad country in the world, you can guarantee the fans would absolutely love and adore this Kumuls side. And lastly, the biggest surprise in this video, the Cook Islands. Look at this team. I mean, seriously, I'll give you a moment to just sit back and scan through this side. The Cook Islands population is less than 14,000 people. Respectfully, how in the ever-living hell have they been able to produce quality like this? It's crazy. Chance Nickel-Klukstad is an extremely good fullback on his day and has made preliminary finals in 2 seasons with the Raiders and 1 with the Warriors. Jordan Rapana's quality has spoken for itself over his 219 games in the NRL, and Valentine Holmes has been an extremely successful winger for both Queensland and Australia across his career. Kyle Iro was one of the top rookies in the NRL this season, and Isan Masters always comes back and does a job for this Cookies side. At 5'8", I know he's going to rugby union, but for the time being, I'm going to include Joseph Manu, with Cook Islands cult hero Brad Takairangi still running around as a halfback in the Illawarra competition to this day. The forwards though, my god. Xavier Willison is one of the Broncos' brightest talents, paired in the middle with Raiders legends Josh Papali'i and Joseph Tapine. Coming off the bench to supplement them are 2 more very high quality middle forwards too, in the shape of Davey Mawale and Francis Molo. The back rowers include another bright Broncos talent in Brendan Piakura, as well as the ever consistent warrior Marata Niukore. West Tiger Ruben Porter would cover for them off the bench, while Mason Teague from the Dolphins and Rua Natikaura from the Bears make up the hooker rotation. I was blown away by this side's quality when I put it together, and I would fully expect it to be very competitive with Fiji and Papua New Guinea. To be honest, I think it's even a little stronger on paper than Papua New Guinea, and maybe equal to Fiji. The point is, people often talk about a competitive international game as some sort of pipe dream. It isn't. We have it now. We just need to put the right systems in place that encourage these players to play for lower ranked nations, and not pull out of international fixtures entirely to focus on their clubs. I've always said, you don't make the game global with Manly Warringah, Canterbury Bankstown or Parramatta. You put the game of rugby league on the international map by using international sides. And we've got sides here who would put on a very, very high quality show. Let me know in the comments which team surprised you the most and which player you'd be most excited to see play for their Pacific nation. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.